Greetings everybody, Maximus here. Well, it's been a minute since I've had a Boeing update, and this update includes a little troubled waters for Airbus as well. Even though I always take my vitamins and say my prayers asking for good Boeing news to report to you, sadly, well, once again, put it this way, I'm still waiting for good Boeing news. So in the meantime, I'll just continue to report the news, good or bad. But I have to be honest, I don't know where to start. Should we start with the exploding 777 engines or the holes in the Max's aft bulkhead? Or we could start with the 787, or even Spirit Aerosystems, the fuselage supplier to both Boeing and Airbus. So I figured we'd just start from the biggest to the smallest. Starting with the 777, the FAA is proposing an airworthiness directive for the Boeing 777's GE90 engines, as well as the Gen X and CFM International Leap turbofan engines, in response to findings that several types of GE Aerospace engines contain components manufactured using what the FAA calls powdered metal material, suspected to contain iron inclusion. And in case you were wondering what powdered metal materials are, so was I. Well, metal powders are used extensively in the aerospace industry to manufacture aircraft and spacecraft components, such as engine parts, turbine blades, heat exchangers, rocket nozzles, and other structural components. The high strength-to-weight ratio of metal powders makes them ideal for lightweight structural components. Powder metallurgy techniques are used to produce complex parts that cannot be produced by traditional manufacturing methods. The FAA's proposed AD is just the latest in a string of regulatory orders, responding to GE Aerospace's latest revelation to the FAA. According to the FAA, GE notified them of the detection of the iron inclusion in a turbine disc manufactured from the same powdered metal material used to manufacture certain high-pressure or HPT turbine parts. Those include the HPT Stage 1 discs, HPT Stage 2 discs, forward HPT rotor seals, interstage HPT seals, and stages 7 through 9 compressor rotor spools for the GE90 engines. Upon further investigation, the original equipment manufacturer determined that the iron inclusion resulted from deficiencies in the manufacturing process and may cause reduced material properties and a lower fatigue life capability, which may result in premature fracture and subsequent uncontained failure. In case you're wondering what an uncontained failure looks like, it looks like this. I would show you the video, but those evil content thieves over at Storyful bought the rights to the video, so nobody can use it unless you pay for it. But you get the idea. However, as usual on this latest issue that can cause the same catastrophic events, the FAA didn't issue a must-repair directive, but again, as usual, is giving operators until October 20, 2023 to comment, and eventually they will probably actually order a fix. A practice that just puzzles me, especially if there is imminent danger to the aircraft, but that's how the FAA has operated since its inception. But still, the FAA warned that if not addressed, the condition could lead to an uncontained debris release, damage to the engine, and damage to the airplane. Funny how they leave out the possible damage to the passengers in the airplane when those pieces of the engine come flying through the cabin walls at over 700 miles per hour. But to comply with the FAA directive if and when eventually issued, airlines will have to replace certain HTP Stage 1 discs, HTP Stage 2 discs, forward HTP rotor seals, interstage HPT seals, and stages 7 through 9 compressor rotor spools that are airworthy. Overall, the FAA determined that 9 engines in the U.S. have been affected by the NPRM, a notice that the FAA has proposed making a rule sometime in the future. The FAA also estimated that replacing all of the HPT parts, including the stages 7 through 9 compressor rotor spools, would cost a total of $2.2 million. Out of all the currently active 1,270 Boeing 777s, excluding stored and/or in maintenance aircraft, 1,084 are powered by the GE90 engines. Meanwhile, the Rolls-Royce Trent 800 powers a total of 101 active 777s, while the Pratt & Whitney 4000 is only used on 85 aircraft. Oh, and don't get too excited, Rolls-Royce engine lovers, because going back as far as 1997, Rolls-Royce suffered the same fatigue failures on the Trent 800 engines, which also led to catastrophic engine failures over the years. So this is and has not been a US-only problem. However, United Airlines is the only airline in the US to power all its 51 active Boeing 777s with the Pratt & Whitney engine. Okay, so with the 777 out of the way, that brings us to the ongoing 737 MAX problems, the most pressing of all Boeing's problems at the moment. In August, Boeing discovered that MAX fuselages built by Spirit AeroSystems had been delivered with improperly drilled holes in the aft pressure bulkhead. You know, that heavy metal dome at the back of the passenger cabin that is essential to maintaining cabin pressure, and oh yeah, to keeping the passengers inside the plane. The defect is not an immediate safety of flight issue. Apparently, nothing ever is a safety of flight issue to the FAA. But the FAA says they must be repaired before planes are delivered. Some MAXs already in service will presumably also have to be fixed during scheduled maintenance. For the past 3 years, Boeing has suffered a cascade of quality defects that have repeatedly disrupted production and deliveries of both the MAX and the 787. In April, Boeing found some fittings that attached to MAX's vertical tail fin had been improperly manufactured by a subcontractor that supplies Spirit Aerospace. Spirit, of course, supplies fuselages to both Boeing and Airbus. However, that particular defect cut MAX deliveries to airlines during the summer peak season, but the repairs on the jets scheduled for near-term delivery were done within a few months. But Brian West, Boeing's chief financial officer, said that the aft pressure bulkhead defect is far more complicated. The rework hours will likely be higher and the cycle time longer than the vertical fin we had earlier this summer. This is different, West said. It's more involved. There's hundreds of holes that get inspected. There's an X-ray inspection process step that's required. And it's a very critical part of the airplane. We know how to fix it, but it's early in the rework process, he added. Not ideal, but we believe we'll work through it. But Spirit AeroSystems CEO Tom Gentile offered more detail. He said that out of about 1,000 holes in the aft pressure bulkhead, 500 are machine drilled, and on some planes, those had been drilled by one of the 3 separate subcontractors as oblong instead of circular holes. In addition to the hundreds of defective fuselages delivered to Boeing, he said Spirit has 39 finished MAX fuselages out of 60 stored in Wichita, which will also have to be inspected via X-rays and repaired. We set up essentially a separate factory across the street, Gentile said, adding that 2 teams of mechanics will work on X-ray inspections, while 6 teams will do the repairs. He added that Spirit should complete the repairs on its fuselages by the end of November. But he said that since the repairs to the planes delivered to Boeing will be done on finished aircraft, for Boeing, it may take a little bit longer. Oh, and while we're on the subject of Spirit AeroSystems, they are struggling with repairing the defects in the composite skin of the 787 Dreamliner. As of the end of July, Boeing still had 85 parked 787s awaiting repair and delivery. Boeing CEO West said that repair work on the fuselage joins is progressing as expected, which gives us confidence that we will be within that 70 to 80 airplane deliveries this year. He said Boeing is building 787s at a rate of 4 per month in South Carolina and will increase that to 5 per month by year end. Boeing hopes to hit 10 per month by late 2025 or early 2026. And finally, that brings us to Spirit AeroSystems Company itself. Because Spirit, Boeing, and Airbus's fuselage suppliers are hemorrhaging cash, and they say they may not be able to sustain it for long, even with a $150 million infusion of cash from Boeing. Speaking at a recent financial conference, Spirit CEO Tom Gentile said the company is renegotiating 787 contract terms with Boeing because of Spirit's cumulative heavy losses on that jet program amounting to $1.4 billion. Since the first one rolled out in 2007. It really isn't sustainable for Spirit, Gentile said. He says Spirit has never managed to make enough progress on reducing the cost of building carbon composite structures. The 787 was the first commercial jet built largely from this material. Even from day one, we were never able to get down the learning curve as fast as we expected, and so we lost money. It's not a secret, he said. We have delivered about 1,165 Dreamliners, so we lost over $1 million per unit. This is a problem for Spirit not only with Boeing 787 but also with the Airbus A350 and its A220. Spirit supplies substantial parts on both Airbus programs, both of which are also made from carbon composites. Gentili said, "We're having discussions with Boeing and Airbus about those pressures that we're facing and how we address them." So like the thumbnail said, I had some huge Boeing news and unfortunately none of it was good. But like I always tell you, I'm still hoping, saying my prayers and eating my vitamins. And I look forward to the day when I can shed my infamous title of resident Boeing hater and I can be loved by the masses once again. Well, let me know down below. That'll wrap it up for now. Thanks for subscribing, liking, sharing, and ringing the bell. And as always, remember, leave the rubber on the runway and your troubles on the ground. And I will see you next time in the air. Yeah, this is Maximus.